Hi, it's Erin Brooks with Ernest Vineyards. Excited to chat with you today about the Wrangler. This beautiful Pinot Noir is named in honor of my great aunt, who was referred to as Aunt Dude. Aunt Dude was born Mary Ellen Barton. She was my great aunt in the panhandle of Texas and had a really incredible life. She was a rodeo girl and with a lot of brothers and had been going by the name of Dude for all of her life. As a young woman, she decided she wanted to compete in rodeoing, and there wasn't a vehicle for that as a woman. So she ended up competing against the men, both regionally in her area and even nationally, and won a bunch of the times. She went on to create what is now known as the National Women's Rodeo Association, and she is in the Cowgirl Hall of Fame in Fort Worth, Texas. And I'm very proud of her for, of course, all of those amazing milestones in her life. But I'm also very proud because as a little girl in West Texas who kind of had her sights beyond the boundaries of what was immediate, she was a real inspiration. Her life was not lived in a way that anybody else's was in her world, in her existence. And I found her incredibly inspiring as a little girl, and even now as a woman in an entrepreneurial role out here trying to make wine and share it with you. So the name Wrangler is of course important, but I love that it has a twofold reality in this particular Pinot Noir, because the Grand Vent Vineyard, which is a French term for big wind, the owners, they are a beautiful couple, and she is from France, so a French name was appropriate for their property. But Grand Vent is not strictly a vineyard. It is 15 acres planted to Pinot Noir and then also to some Syrah, but it's also a horse ranch, and she runs an incredible equestrian program there. And the minute that Todd and I hearkened upon this site all those years ago, we've been working with this fruit since our first vintage, I just thought that it definitely needed to have some sort of alignment with my favorite great Aunt Dude. So I hope you enjoyed this part of the story for the Wrangler, and cheers.
Hey, Joseph Ryan, Ernest Vineyards here. Today we're talking about the Wrangler. So 2018 vintage release. We've been working with this vineyard since 2012, and the beauty in working with a vineyard over a long period of time is really getting to figure out the nuances of it and to kind of work in this symbiotic way in the vineyard and in the cellar to get the best results possible. Petaluma Gap, so this is fruit that's on a working horse ranch. There's every possible animal imaginable is ranched around it, all kinds of stuff. In the Petaluma Gap, you have a lack of trees, so it's a very windy site. Decomposing granite is kind of the subsoil with some clay and loam over the top. We work with Pomard, 113 and 667 clones on this site. The Pomard and the 667 are on this contiguous block across a creek bed from the 113. The Pomard and the 667 are on this sloping hill, which lends itself to a whole cluster fermentation. So we often pick that together, and we pick the 113 together and then ferment them separately. This has really been a fun one to push the limits of whole cluster. Can you do more than 100%? We'll find out maybe someday. It's just a really 2018 was a beautiful vintage. Natural chemistries were perfect, and it allowed for us to just kind of see a wine through the vineyard and through the fermentation into barrel, and just the evolution as we over vintage this wine into what it is now has been really exciting to see, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. So cheers.
The 2018, the Wrangler from Ernest Vineyards, from the Grand Vent Vineyard. We call it the Wrangler, and I consider this our wildling of a wine for those Game of Thrones fans out there. This wine has an untamed quality. to it that I find delightful. Tons of spices and a wild edge that I think it is worth saving it and enjoying it when a winter time comes. Winter is coming, another reference. And for the fall fare dishes, and this will be great with turkey over Thanksgiving. Cheers.